Hey, I am Kimbo, and you are on my YouTube channel. I blog over at agirlinagluegun.com, and I am teaching everybody to love their silhouette. It's a vinyl cutter. Well, it actually cuts paper too. It's an electronic cutter that cuts out lots of fun things, and a lot of people are intimidated by it. So I started this series because I wanted people to love their machines as much as I love mine. So today we are going to learn how to do printable heat transfer vinyl and put it onto a shirt. I have a video for inkjet printable adhesive. We made our own stickers. It's a few videos back. I'll link to it down below. So this time I thought we will dive into the Htv. So the Htv printable vinyl is really cool. It makes it so instead of having to layer a ton of little colors, you can just print it up and slap it on. And I actually made an ugly sweater with my husband's face. Like, there's no way that I could have put my husband's face in vinyl. How many layers of vinyl would that have been? It would have taken me way too long. So I just printed it up, cut it out, and then slapped it on a sweater, and I had the best ugly sweater. Anyway, printable Htv, you can tell it apart from regular. So this is the adhesive. It looks kind of like a thick cardstock, but you can tell that there's a front and a back to it. Printable Htv, they come regular sheet size. It's gridded, that's actually the back side. And then the front side is like a clear, it's not quite glossy, but it's got a little bit of a different feel to it than regular paper. So that's what the printable Htv looks like. You'll also need to use a multi-use paper or a parchment paper, just something to cover your design when you're ironing onto it. Other than that, it's pretty easy. You guys ready to go? Okay, to use the inkjet printable heat transfer, we're going to be using the print and cut feature in the Silhouette Studio. I did want to show you really quickly that the Silhouette Studio library actually has print and cut options. This flower is an example of it. So you send it to your printer, you cut this out, and then it comes with this red line that you can see. So it won't print the red line, but that's what we'll cut. So there is print and cut things in your library that you can use. I'm going to be doing my own design. It is a Disneyland design. I'm just opening there's a open folder, and I'm gonna just drop it down into my project. It's just a PNG. There's just no way that I want to layer all this vinyl, all the colors, all the vinyl. I would be there for hours. So, and this is a perfect project for the print and cut. We're gonna be going up to the top right corner to our page setup. When you click that, it's gonna have this nice drop down menu for you. I am going to make sure that I have a cutting mat. You need a cutting mat to print this or to cut it out. And then I'm going to change my size, my media size, to a letter. My vinyl size needs to be able to fit through my printer, so it's just a 8.5 by 11 inch piece of paper or piece of vinyl. So that's what size I need on my screen. The next part in the page setup is registration marks right up here at the top. You are going to click them on. Now the registration marks are the marks that the silhouette's going to read. It's going to scan these little marks right here so it knows exactly where to cut around. That being said, you cannot have anything overlapping or covering up those registration marks. Everything needs to be inside this red outline and not overlapping the shaded area. So I'm just going to size this up because I want to get it as big as I possibly can, but still fit inside. So that's pretty good. This is my only real complaint, is I'm losing about 2 inches of vinyl, like an inch on each side, because you have to do the registration marks. So if I need something that's a little bit bigger, or I need to use the whole space, maybe don't do the registration marks and you'll have to hand cut it. But the Silhouette will do it for you. So if you can make it fit inside the space, have the Silhouette do it. It's just such a time saver. They make it look so much more nicer than I could ever do with my own scissors. So, all right, so we have our registration marks. We have our project in here. We're going to go over here to the trace. And we're going to drag a box over. Now you're going to see how much it's going to be able to pick up. It's going to pick up all that black. Well, we don't want it to cut out all that black. We're going to trace outer edge. what that's going to do is tell the silhouette that we just want this outline cut out. Nice and easy. Now, one thing to remember is this needs to line up perfectly. So you've seen that I've pulled this off to the side. I'm going to push my back arrow so it goes right back where the red outline is. If you move it over like a centimeter, your whole thing's going to cut a centimeter off. It needs to stay 100% stay put. So then you're going to come up here and click. There's a send to printer option. Remember, it has to be inkjet. And then you're going to push print. It will print the registration marks and it will print your design. You won't see the red outline or the shaded area, but it will print these black lines. Two things really quickly that I forgot to mention. Or number one, unlike regular heat transfer vinyl, you are not going to flip your image. Usually you have to flip it backwards. You're going to be printing on the front, so you're going to leave it as is. And the second thing is, before you send this over to your printer, you might want to put a scrap piece of paper in and just make sure that the it's printing in the correct direction. I printed one earlier and it started printing horizontal and not vertical, and it cut off half the design. So just a quick test before you print out your whole thing, because I don't want you to waste any of your vinyl. Okay, now print. So I know which way my printer prints out, so I know which way to load. If you don't know, then maybe you want to do a test print. Like I always put like an X, and then I run it through and see which way it ends up. But this way, so you're going to want to print on the front, the gridded is the back, and you do not want to flip the image. Just a quick reminder, I'm going to load it that way, and then I'm going to send it to print. Okay, we have printed. We are loading it up onto our mat. And then you're just going to go over here. There is a setting for heat transfer printable. I push light fabric, and you can see this is our red outline that we traced. It's just going to go right around the outline outside of our design. I'm not plugged into my silhouette because my microphone is plugged in, but you'll do a test cut. It's at a 1 and the force is at a 2. So it's a very light cut. So make sure that you're doing a test cut, and then you're just going to click send and keep your fingers crossed that it works. Okay, before we cut, here is a few things to double check to make sure that you're doing correctly. You want to make sure that this setup is exactly what is showing on your screen as far as placement. The dot needs to be up here in the corner. The lines, where, like, if in case it's vertical or horizontal, you want to make sure that this looks the same thing. Another thing is test cut. Make sure that I did it on a sample piece because the test cut's right up here in the corner, and I was too afraid I'd nick this registration mark. So I just did it on a sample piece. I actually did 3 to make sure that it was correct. Like I was cutting too deep. I was cutting all the way through, and I didn't want to cut all the way through. So just do a test cut. There is a heat transfer printable setting in your Designware in the Silhouette software. So you just click that and it tells you, and it's pretty spot on. The blade's about a 1 and the force is really light because it's pretty thin. So you're just going to barely cut through that top layer. You don't want to cut through that bottom layer. And we're going to send it. It's going to, if you watch and pay attention before it cuts, it's going to read these registration marks, and then it will know exactly where to cut out. So you can see it has just cut around, leaving only your design, which is awesome. So this grid is the backing. I'm peeling it up off the backing. I'm going to put it on my shirt, and I'm going to cover it with a multi-use paper. All right, so I've laid it down. I have my multi-use paper over. It's just going to protect the ink from coming up onto my iron. And then I'm going to press it for, I think it's 375 for about 30 seconds. It's a long and a hot press. I will put the link to where I get all my heat settings from down below. And I am using my Cricut Easy Press, which makes it just really nice and easy. This is the best part. Oh, look how cool that looks. I feel like the color gets even more vibrant after you iron it. Now come on, that just saves you so much time and weeding. One thing I forgot to mention is whatever you leave white will show up white when you're ironing it on. So I was putting this on a white t-shirt, so I didn't really care about this area around the balloons. But if you're putting this on like a light pink t-shirt or a light blue t-shirt, you might want to cut that out separately. But there are a couple spots that I wanted to keep white, like my Buzz Lightyear, so those were fine. But just keep that in mind when you're cutting around the edge, because what will be white will show up white on the t-shirt. Guys, I'm in love. Let's go to Disneyland. Who's up for Disneyland? Always. Can you imagine trying to layer all the different colors of vinyl to get this effect? It would take, I don't even know, way too long, way longer than my patience would allow. So, Printable Hdv for the win. I thought it was really easy. Like I mentioned earlier, you maybe could even forego the whole silhouette part. The silhouette does cut around really nicely and make it look a nice clean image. But if you don't have a silhouette, you really could just take scissors and cut around it. So that is an option, but I love it. I love it so much.